can be crushing to know that your child is being bullied but feel powerless to do anything about it. It doesn't have to be like this though. I'm going to give you 5 simple steps to end bullying and build back your child's confidence. And if you are the parent of a child who is doing the bullying, then I have some shame-free advice at the end, so keep watching for some help. According to the Anti-Bullying Alliance, research shows that children with special educational needs and disabilities are far more likely to experience bullying than other children. It's around 36% of children with SEND who experience frequent bullying episodes compared to just 25% of the general population. And although these are really depressing figures, we do have power to stop bullying. The first thing I want you to do is to recognize that you cannot deal with this alone. Reach out to your supporter network, to friends, families, any professionals that you feel that can step in and help you deal with the situation. If the bullying is happening at school, you absolutely need to involve them. By law, every school must have an anti-bullying policy, so have a look on the website to see if you can find that, and then contact the SENCO or class teacher or whoever you feel is most appropriate. They will hopefully be able to act as an intermediary, because what you definitely do not want to do is contact the other parent yourself. This is almost undoubtedly going to escalate the situation. Use the school who can work between both families and hopefully find some shame-free solutions. The next thing that you want to do is work on building your child's confidence and self-esteem. Now, I say this without any intention of blaming, but children with low self-esteem and confidence are far more likely to be bullied than those who do have a strong sense of identity and confidence. And that's simply because that's what bullies will sniff out. They'll sniff out the children that they think they can get away with it. So what we can do to help stop and prevent bullying is to invest in their confidence and self-esteem. And I've got several suggestions on how you can do this. So let's celebrate our children. If your child has a special interest, I know lots of autistic children have some really fabulous and unusual special interests, whether it's the inner workings of a washing machine or planes or cars or ponies. Then let's celebrate that. Let's get them involved in clubs. Let's get involved in ourselves. Let's celebrate it in different ways to show them that different doesn't mean wrong. It just means different. And it's absolutely fine to be fascinated with washing machines. In fact, it's amazing because who else knows so much about them? What incredible knowledge you have. So let's celebrate them. The other thing you might want to think about is getting them involved in groups and clubs outside of school, especially if the bullying is happening in school, because this gives them an alternative source of friendships. So they don't have to have their best friends at school. They could have their best friends in clubs. In fact, it might be easier for them to make friends there. School is such a pressurized, high-stress environment that it does make friendships there very difficult. Also, they're with each other so long, and that might be just too much, particularly for neurodivergent children who struggle with social skills. Being sociable for 6 hours a day is just overwhelming, but maybe a club where they're just there for an hour and a half, maybe that feels a bit more manageable. There's also less people in a club and tends to be a higher adult ratio, so that might feel safer. So whether it's guides or scouts or woodcraft folk or a football club or gymnastics or pony group, let's get them involved in those things outside of school where they can build positive relationships. And the other thing that you can do to build confidence and self-esteem is something in our family we call the magic bag. Now, this is just an ordinary little bag or purse. And every time my daughter does something impressive, I write it on a bit of paper and I put it in the bag. So it could be a test result or moving up a reading level. I tend to avoid those a bit in my family because academic stuff is a bit of a challenge. So we focus on things like, wow, you climbed to the top of the climbing frame, or you were really kind to a friend, or you tidied your room without me asking you to. So we put all of those things on a bit of paper, put them in the bag, and then on New Year's Eve we get the bag out and we read them all and we recap on our year. Not only is it a really nice way to remember what we did in the year, but it really boosts confidence to show all these amazing things that happened that your child did. Now, if you have a child who really struggles with praise, then I would say just go slowly, but don't give up. The first year that I did the magic bag with my daughter, first of all, I think she didn't really quite understand. And when I started to read them out, she got massively dysregulated. So I just read a few, and I didn't read them all. I just stopped. And so we took it really slowly. The second year we did it, I went back to it again, and she was actually able to sit through all of them. She didn't really say much, but this year she was able to sit through all of them and listen to me say this. The third year, she got super excited and said, "Where's the magic bag? Where's the magic bag? Can we read everything I did?" So it did take several years, but we did get there. And I noticed that this building of confidence and toleration of hearing positive things also coincided with her having agency and asserting boundaries with her friendships. And this brings me on to the third point, which is empowering children within their friendships. I think this is particularly important for girls who often suffer that more low-level bullying, that excluding and put downs. I had to spend a lot of time with my daughter explaining what good friendships looked like, because she would often keep going back to the same people who just treated her badly. She would go back to them again and again and again because she was just so desperate to be liked. And you might find this particularly if you have a child who's experienced some kind of trauma and neglect. Maybe they've adopted, maybe they've been through the care system. And what they often do is subconsciously mimic the relationships with their birth families, particularly if those relationships were neglectful, because that's the only model that they know. So they replicate those in their friendships. So we have to put in quite a bit of investment in teaching them what healthy friendships look like. Now, this did not happen overnight, but I first noticed a difference with my daughter going repeatedly back to these people who would treat her badly. The first shift I saw was that she would start coming back to me and say, "Are they a good friend?" And I said, "Well, let's discuss it. What do they do?" She would say, "Well, they're a good friend. Are they a good friend?" So that was the first step. And then the second step I noticed was that she started asserting boundaries with her friends. She would start to say, "I don't like it when you do that," or "You need to stop doing that," or "That's not okay." And then the step after that was her actually walking away from some of these friendships that just didn't serve her any longer. So that all took time, but it was an important piece of work, and it's something that we can facilitate as parents. And it's really important to let our children know that they have agency in friendships and they can assert boundaries. So the next step that I want you to think about is called parental presence, and this is a key pillar of NVR. NVR stands for non-violent resistance, and it is a parenting strategy that I highly recommend you use with children who have special educational needs and disabilities. I've got other videos, and I will put a link to at the end of this one to another one where you can discover more about NVR and how it all works. But as I said, parental presence is a key pillar of the strategy. And what it basically refers to is making sure that we spend regular time with our children doing something that they are interested in. So we're showing an interest in their lives. So that might be playing computer games with them. It may be playing a game of football with them. It might be doing crafts with them. It might be going to watch them in a horse riding competition, or reading a book, or watching a film with them. Whatever it is that your child likes to do, we're going to show an interest in them. We're going to put our phones away. We're going to switch the email off. We're just going to give them our undivided attention. And what this does, it builds bonding, it builds attachment, and it lets your child know that you are a safe person, that you care about them. I mean, we assume that they know this, but actually some children need reminding of this. The risk of not doing this is that your child will just disappear into their own world. They will suffer the bullying in silence. They will let it go on, hoping that it will just go away, and instead it escalates and gets worse and worse and worse. By building parental presence, our child is more likely to come to us in the early stages of their difficulties and allow us to deal with it before it gets too out of hand. So the final point also links with NVR, and that is around role modelling conflict, how you deal with conflict. Now, if you are practicing NVR, non-violent resistance, this is a form of dealing with conflict that is actively passive. So instead of meeting violence with violence, we meet violence with active passive resistance. It's built on the foundations of civil rights leaders like Gandhi, Martin Luther King, who found that these strategies are far more effective, and research shows that they are far more effective in parenting as well. So hopefully you're invested in the NVR strategies or learning about them and beginning to do it, but you don't have to just do it within relationship with your child. Use NVR in all of your relationships, whether it's with the person you're married to or living with or parenting a child with, or the woman at the post office, or the person on the other end in the call centre. Using NVR is an effective way of dealing with conflict, and if we show our child that this is the way we deal with it when someone's being aggressive or mean, then they will develop skills too. So role model to your child how to deal with conflict. So those are my tips on stopping bullying. But as I said at the beginning, what do you do if your child is the bully? Now, this is also not uncommon, particularly children who have trauma histories or have an aggressive fight, flight, fear response. It might be that their go-to response is fight, and that can manifest as bullying. So I say this with full confidence. You are not the problem. This is not because of your parenting. This is just something that can manifest with children, but we can do something about it. And I would say, just like if your child is being bullied, the first thing we need to do is reach out for support, particularly to the school. So say that you're aware that this is going on, you don't know how to stop it, and you need their support. Now, bullying often stems from an unmet need, which is why I say this is a shame-free approach. Now, that unmet need isn't necessarily something that you're doing wrong. It could be anywhere in the child's life. And some of those unmet needs can be something outside of your control. The person that I was bullied by at school, I found out later in adulthood, had a parent with a chronic illness, and he was basically decided to act out his distress at me. Now, it doesn't make it okay that he bullied me, and I'm not even saying that I necessarily forgive him, but I do understand it, and I do think it's a shame that he didn't get more support in dealing with a highly stressful situation at home, because what happened was it spilled over into the playground. So, no, it's not your fault, but do reach out for support. Now, if you don't know who to reach out to for support, I can offer some assistance, and I've got a link in the description where you can get in touch and get some free parenting coaching that might help you deal with the bullying so that you're not trying to go through this alone. So do reach out if you need that support. And good luck. I know you can do this, and let's end bullying. If you want to learn more about NVR parenting and how it can help your family, then click this video here. It explains a lot of the strategies and how you can get started. Have a watch.